Awesome. All right. Thank you guys for having us here today. Our partners at WM Synergy, we're grateful. As Michelle said, we're here to host a webinar that we're really excited to present to you all called Bridging the Gap, Solving the ERP Disconnect with Real-Time MES Intelligence. My name is Graham Immerman. I'm the CRO here at MachineMetrics. I'll introduce myself a little bit more momentarily as one of your presenters here today. I've been at MachineMetrics for roughly 9 years, so all the way back to the early days when we just had a couple customers, and it's been quite a journey to where we are today. We're the global leader in intelligent MES solutions for discrete manufacturers. We've got hundreds of customers all over the world on every continent that use our platform. It's been just an amazing journey to be a part of, and fortunate enough to have here my partner in crime, who we totally did not intend to match, but no surprise, here we are matching, Rutherford. I'll let Rutherford do his own brief introduction. Rutherford?
Well, excited to be here with you guys this afternoon or this morning, wherever you're located. I'm Rutherford Wilson. I'm a Chief Product Officer here at MachineMetrics. I've been here for about 3 years and just love building stuff that helps manufacturing more successful. I actually got my first start in the manufacturing world. I was the guy who do the time series analysis on the shop floor, and I got called college boy by all the operators at the time. So it's been a long time since then. I'm no longer just a college boy, and I've learned a lot since those early days about how to get lean manufacturing, use Six Sigma processes to help make manufacturers better. So it's great to use these tools with here and now that I'm at MachineMetrics.
Awesome. So glad to have you here, Rutherford. We're just going to do a quick agenda check here. Obviously, Michelle, you've introduced yourselves, and we're so grateful. So we checked that box emphatically. Rutherford and I introduced ourselves, so we're well along our way. We're going to do an introduction from MachineMetrics, just so you guys know who we are. Some of you already do. I saw some customers in the audience. Welcome. We set some new faces, so we'll definitely give you guys a little taste of who we are and what we do. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the ERP disconnect, this concept that plagues most manufacturers, and then how to connect ERP and the shop floor, the solution. Core 4 use cases for that connection. We're going to talk a little bit more about ourselves, deep dive into the integrations with Infor ERP, from visual to SyteLine to XA, how to get started, and then we're going to do a Q&A at the end. Just a quick heads up for everybody here. There are some modules that you will see within your GoToWebinar control panel. There's a chat area where you guys can talk amongst yourselves. Feel free to do that. Say hello to everybody. Always a great place to connect during a webinar. There is also a Q&A section within the navigation, and during the webinar, you're welcome to ask questions. We implore you to do so, but the thing is, we might not be able to answer them in real time. So in the event that we can't do that, we will then save those questions for the Q&A at the end of the webinar. So locate those now. So like you were in the movie theater, it's like locate your exits now, not from the webinar, your Q&A section, your chat, and use them emphatically during the webinar. This webinar is also going to be recorded, as Michelle may have mentioned, so we can send it out at the end of the webinar, and you guys can share it or watch it a million times on repeat because it's so awesome. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, as you know, Rutherford and myself, we represent a little company called MachineMetrics. Not so little anymore, but there was a time when I could say that. And we do dub ourselves the next generation of manufacturing intelligence. With MachineMetrics, we provide a smarter way to run your operations. With MachineMetrics, we provide a production intelligence platform that connects real-time data from your factory floor, your machines, people, ERP systems. We create a unified data ecosystem that allows you to automate insights and intelligence so you can run your factories with less people, less resources than ever before. Essentially, MachineMetrics makes your team bionic by providing intelligence every step of the way, from letting you know production bottlenecks to when your schedules are running awry, to communication links between your factory workers so they can use real-time data to drive decisions. And at its core, MachineMetrics is used to just provide that transparency and visibility into your sites. So whether you've got one site, whether you've got 50 sites, our platform can easily roll out in a quick manner, so you can get that real-time visibility and intelligence of what's happening in these sites, whether it's at the enterprise level, the plant level, or even the machine level. We provide that granular intelligence that allows you to make critical decisions, whether you're an operator, a supervisor, a plant manager, or even a CFO looking over dozens of sites globally. So you can make your life easier and drive decisions, like I said, with data. The way our software works is pretty straightforward, at least to me, because I work here. But to you, the way it works is we start by getting data, right? So we're amazing at getting data from machines, from operations. We've developed connectors to all sorts of ERP systems and machines. So when we plug into these machines, we understand when they're running, when they're making parts, how fast they're making parts, what parts they're making. And then we coalesce that data, contextualize that data with operational insights like ERP. So we know not just when you're making parts, but who those parts are for, what work order or part operation they're being run for. And that information provides instant real-time visibility into what is actually happening on the factory floor. Our customers identify overutilized assets. They know when machines are running well, which ones might need to be maintained before a breakdown. They identify bottlenecks in production, cycle time analytics that are exceeding certain thresholds. All that data is used to automate key insights so our customers can make decisions. Should we have overlapped these two shifts because we're seeing huge amounts of downtime when we're handing off? This machine has been sitting in idle a long time, but it's supposed to be running this work order. Why are we not running? You can use that information, and we automate those analytics to help you adjust problems and reschedule work on the fly. So you can hit your on-time delivery goals, and you don't need to be a rocket scientist or a data scientist to do this work. We've made it easy. We've Apple-ified the experience. So, even a neophyte Neanderthal like myself can use MachineMetrics and improve my hypothetical factory, which technically I don't own, but you do. And we're really good at this. This isn't just theoretical. We've got customers all over the world that use our software, but we were born in the shop floor. So, we work with customers anywhere from just mom and pop job shops all the way up to, global companies that have sites on every continent. The software itself, we're here. So we were made in the US, born and bred in Boston, at least I was, and so is the software. We're well venture funded. So, we're not heading anywhere anytime soon. The business is going quite well, fortunately for us. And so we've got some big names behind us that help us just continue to innovate and improve our software. And we've won a bunch of awards and accolades that just further validate MachineMetrics as the leader in the space. So that's us, MachineMetrics, production intelligence platform. But let's just dive more into the topic of the day, which is digital transformation. Just a quick show of hands, chat, questions, answer it wherever you want. How many of you have digital transformation initiatives? Meaning, hey, we need to digitize our manufacturing operations. Does everybody believe that this is essential for our businesses? Just gonna pause and let everybody chat in. Well, I think we know the answer is yes, right? McKinsey & Co., you may have heard of those guys. They've revealed, unfortunately, that 70% of these digital transformation initiatives have failed to meet those lofty goals, and that sucks. That's a problem, right? Because if we all agree that today manufacturers are inundated with the challenge of We need to make more stuff better, faster, with less resources than ever before. And we're facing this unprecedented pressure to maximize productivity. We're still struggling with basic stuff. We've got disconnected systems, right? Machine data, like our machines, they're siloed from ERP. We've got this great plan that we put together in the ERP, and that plan just falls apart when it hits the factory floor. I think we all know that feeling when that happens. We have limited real-time visibility into what is actually happening. Most of us use run our businesses more as like Sports Center than we do like a real-time broadcast, right? I watched the highlights from yesterday, but unfortunately I couldn't make any real-time decisions to change the game because it happened yesterday, right? And that leads to very reactive operations. For those of us who've tried to get information on what's happening, those processes have been very manual in the past. So, the whiteboards, the spreadsheets, the pieces of paper, right, that we use to get information. Rutherford always likes to tell a story about how he used to do the time checks on his, on the factory floor using his start and stop watch. Those were good old days, right? But that's no longer how stuff works, right? We don't write letters anymore, right? We write emails, we text, right? We use digital ways to communicate. And today, those manual processes are just creating massive underutilization of our resources, not just our machines, but people, right, are inundated with manual processes. And that just leads to bad results. Everybody knows the story of the Ford Bronco. It's just like it couldn't get to the customers because they couldn't make the movers fast enough, right? This stifles innovation. It stifles our ability to deliver. It stifles our ability to make money. It stifles our ability to make manufacturing continually better than it was before. And this is a number that we captured from our own data. So when we start working with customers, we find that our customers are utilizing machines about 28% of the time. And that's a shocking number for some of us. Some of us, are like, yep, that sounds about right. But the number is really illustrative of this problem, which is that we've got all these expensive machines and resources, yet they're not being used to our benefit. And most companies out there figure they're capacity constrained. And so what do? We buy more multi-million-dollar machines, right? And for those of us trying to hire our way out of the problem, I think we all know that's a challenge, right? How many of us are able to really easily just hire willy-nilly operators, right, that we need, or machine programmers, right? We know how difficult those roles are to fill. So systems MES. MES was meant to be the answer to this problem, right? You've got these factories, you've got this big business system, ERP on top of it. And so MES was like, right, we figured it out, right? What we're gonna do is we're gonna put this layer between them, right? We're gonna connect them, right? So MES, want to call it level 3, the old school Purdue model, right? The business, process automation on the factory floor, MES sits right in between. It connects what is happening in your business systems with the factory floor. It's a great idea, right? That's what we want. That's the gap we're trying to fill, right? Unfortunately, easier said than done. MES systems have failed at like an astronomical rate over the years. And for decades, these were supposed to be like the savior, right? But the reasons they fail are numerous. First of all, most of them were built in like the MS-DOS days. Like, you guys remember that? Remember like AIM? Like that was like the way that we used to get each other. Anyways, the old technology, these things are built on old tech stacks, right? And so they require a lot of inundative manual processes to make them run. And if they don't fit your business, you need significant customization and configuration to make them work they're not very flexible. They're not flexible systems. They can't just be, automated or configured to your needs. Rarely do they actually connect to machines themselves on the factory floor. And if they do, they use third-party systems, which are a real pain in the ass, and they don't get that data. They're usually people-centric, right? They try to solve a lot of things. And if you ever got pitched an MES system in the past, you'll hear something like, well, yeah, it can do that. Sure, it could do that. But like, does it? It's a master of none, right? Rarely actually solving the problems that you see on the factory floor, even though it appears like it might have in theory. And then they're just long time, they just don't hold up well. They've been costly, cumbersome, high maintenance. We hear this across the board from our customers. And the analysts out there hear the same thing. Gartner report says they have integration issues, right? Most MES systems can't connect with real-time data on the factory floor. Wasn't that the point? That's a problem. Second challenge, they don't configure very well, right? LNS, great research group, they found that 50% of manufacturers report massive customizations required for it to actually work in their factories. Well, that's not going to work unless you guys want to become software builders, which that's a whole different manufacturing process. They take forever to get up and running. IDC said that they take up to 12 to 24 months just to get up and running. I talked to a customer the other day that's 6 years into a custom MES deployment, and they said they're almost 50% of the way there. All right, in 20 years, we might have this rolling. And then you've got, like, on the other side of things, you've got these sort of like point machine monitoring systems. And like these have been around for a long time. There was a time where you might even be able to look at MachineMetrics and be like, oh, is that a point machine monitoring system? But what we're hearing from our customers is that these systems are really falling out of favor. And the top reason why is that they don't have enough business context, right? We know when our machines are running, great. But like, what are they running? Are they running what part operation and for what work order? It just silos data in another place where we're then have to have somebody else connect it to the center of our business, which is our ERP. And we're all here to solve that problem, right? And so a debate rages on in the software world and the system integrator world, which is like, all right, do we buy an MES system? Do we build an MES system? This is you, the customer, looking confused. This is system integrators and unintentionally looking smug. It's not just a cartoon that I messed with. And then software providers equally looking, I don't know. I think the question for most people is like, listen, like, can I build something like this? Do I buy something like this? I know I need it. What's the best way to get where I need to go? Well, we think we know here at MachineMetrics. And it's a bit of both, right? Both sides are right. No software out of the box solves every customer problem. On the flip side, you don't have to rebuild everything from scratch. The way that MachineMetrics looks at MES is with a purpose-built platform designed for a vertical of manufacturing. An MES system can be built to solve 80+% of customer needs, and then a configurable system can be taken to get to where the customer needs to go much faster than having to rebuild a custom MES system from the ground up. And the critical to do that, to deliver a system that can be essentially provide 80% of what a customer needs without having to rebuild the wheel from scratch is really freaking hard. We've spent about a decade doing it. But by having a system that can provide that real-time visibility and data collection across machines, people, and jobs, an ability to easily one-click integrate with ERP systems, to also be configurable. So you're not locked into their dashboards, you're not locked in their reports, you're not locked in their workflows. You can take that, expand on it, generate more on top of it that's what we believe is the ultimate solution for customers. And that is, to be fair, what we have here at MachineMetrics. So what we did, which was very difficult, was building those connections to machines. And we're probably the best in the world when it comes to getting data from machines. So we've spent a lifetime getting data from these machines. Whether you have a turning, milling, stamping, fabrication, injection molding, cold heading, laser, grinder, welder, robot, cobot, we can get data from those machines. If you're a total machine nerd like me, whether you're using MT Connect, OPC UA, FANUC Focus, Ethernet IP, Modbus TCP, the gist is that all these different machines in the factories, they speak like a different language. That language is data. And the challenge is normalizing all that data into one language, right? So you can compare this machine to that machine or this machine to that machine to track processes across the factory floor. Easier said than done. What we've done is we've developed a data normalization engine. That's what I like to call it, but it's really a edge connectivity software that allows us to connect to these machines and transform all that data into a common model across every machine that allows us to compare all your different machines and garner instant visibility into how our machines are performing, how many parts they're making, alarm codes, cycle times, machine conditions quickly and easily. This is a part of the process for most MES systems that can take years. If you're into, like I said, machine connectivity, it's one of the sexiest things that we've done, but it's highly inundative to connected MES systems of the past. And we do it better than anybody. Now, once you get that machine data from the machines, you can drive all sorts of automated intelligence and insights. OEE and production analytics helps us visualize production performance against standards, historical baselines, and goals. Downtime management, we can see when the machines are down and why. We can automate reason codes to better understand, what our production bottlenecks are. But the key of solving the execution gap is when you also connect to ERP. And so what we've done is we've taken that same premise of getting data from machines, and we've built these ERP connectors to Visual, SyteLine, XA, and we now support those. So when you connect the real-time data from the machines and sync work orders, production standards, and more, you can provide significantly more value to the factory floor. Really a single source of intelligence that helps our customers execute manufacturing work itself, not just analyze the data. So those pre-built connectors allow us to then deliver significantly more value to our customers today. Work order tracking, for example. Using real-time data from our integrations with Infor ERP systems, we can actively track the status of work orders from your ERP utilizing real-time data, right? So that actual machine data will help us know exactly where we are along our production journey. And we can use estimated time to completion metrics, we call that ETTC metrics, to tell us how long it's actually going to take to get done. We also provide a single source of data for tracking labor. And this is a big challenge for any of you who've tried to roll out like machine monitoring systems, is like you've got these two things, right? You've got labor tracking over here, maybe work order tracking here, and then you've got downtime tracking here. What our customers have asked us for years is the ability to have a single source where our operators can engage with that data. So an operator can log in and start and stop jobs. They can classify downtime and track downtime, give the operators ability to notify other workers when things are happening. We want to do it in one place, right? Having a bunch of different places to do that, mosaic of interfaces, it's not the end goal, right? And anyone who's tried this knows that's not going to work. And so with this integration with the ERP, we can provide that single interface where operators can engage and frontline workers can engage in one interface across all different functions of the front line. And it's easy too. So the way it works is pretty straightforward. When work that is dispatched from the ERP will enter MachineMetrics, and we have a scheduling module within the software that pulls all that work in and aligns it with your assets within MachineMetrics. So the key is like aligning tables within the two systems, essentially. And we've put all that hard work in, so you don't need to do it. But the gist is that when that work gets dispatched, it flows into our scheduling software, and you get instant visibility into all the scheduled work within our production environment. You can then monitor and adjust that work in progress with a real-time drag and drop production schedule. How many people today do that in Excel? Can I get a show of hands? I'm just going to raise my hand for everybody who isn't. Rutherford can say, yeah, there he is. When we talk to customers, we interviewed like hundreds of customers about this use case, and almost all of our customers, when they dispatched work from their APS in their ERP system, they use an Excel spreadsheet at best to track the work. I also hear like the bins. There's like the bins that we put the work orders in. That's like the scheduling tool. We've digitized that entire experience. So we've got a full digital interface where we accept all those work orders and provide a digital schedule. The way it looks is like this. This is your new digital schedule. We can tie in all that work. We can tie that work to real-time data from your machines and ensure that that work is being actually monitored and up to date in terms of when we think it's going to be done. Now, using the schedule, you can make adjustments based on our analytics. Right? It's the value of analytics, right? We're analyzing all these work orders and operations on the fly, and we're using that real-time data to calculate these when we think it's going to be done. And we're going to notify you when we think work is wrong, when it's not going to be done in time. It can also show you when that work's going to impact downstream work. That work's also not going to be done based on what's happening. And then we have a simple interface. You can make drag and drop adjustments on the fly.
Just a quick thing to chime in here, Graham. Just one of the things I wanted to settle in is when you are planning your work in your ERP, it doesn't know what the time is of what actually is happening on the shop floor. So when you say dynamic scheduling, just wanted to make it really clear for the audience here that it's calculating not just when the machine is up or down, it's understanding the actual cycle time as opposed to the expected cycle time of what's been done, and it's predicting what that future cycle time is going to be. So there's actually all this machine learning and intelligence that's happening on the bottom of it to actually predict when that job is actually going to run. And that's information that is going to be dynamic, which is why we call it dynamic scheduling, because it's going to change on the shop floor. We all know that your plan is great until it hits the shop floor and things go differently than planned. And so that's what this is. The benefit of this is it's tied to what is actually happening, and it's giving you feedback in real time. It recalculates every cycle. Every time a cycle is done, it recalculates, and that's what makes it so cool. So I just wanted I know you said that, Graham, but I just wanted to double click on that particular point because it's really a powerful tool, and it's the difference between what you see in the ERP to what is the offering here.
It's a great point, Rutherford. Thank you for clarifying that. It made a lot of sense. Now, what we see is that oftentimes that schedule is manually connected to how the operators are actually engaging with work. And so seeing as you piped in, Rutherford, and I think it was the perfect time, I was going to prompt you to share how that schedule connects to the experience of frontline workers on the factory floor. You want to jump in and talk about how those two systems connect?
Yeah, 100%. So, as I described for, production tracking for the scheduling system, we pull all the information about what was the plan scheduled from your ERP. So you're going to do your planning in your ERP as you would do today. But the nice thing about this is, we want to represent, Graham said we were born on the shop floor. And so we were very much attuned to what's happening on the shop floor. And so we have multiple ways of connecting the schedule to what is actually happening and present that. So a couple different ways we do that. Obviously, we have an interface where you can start and stop your jobs using what we call shop pulse is the interface to do that functionality, and that pulls in all the information from your Infor system to to show you what work is being done. And that schedule that Graham showed you is a live communication point. So if your planner changes that schedule, that information is instantly communicated into Shop Pulse, which is what the operator sees. And so they can start and stop work, identifying what's next up for them to get done. But we have other technologies that are really cool about this. We have a system that understands the program that you generate and extracts the part and the part operation that's being made, and it looks and connects that to the job that's being done. So it can automatically start these jobs without having any operator input. And so there's a number of different ways that we can, but the goal is to do actual tracking based on what the operator is doing to your work, and really sort of break that, build that bridge between the plan and what's happening. And so those are a couple of different examples of how job tracking and work order management happens in the MachineMetrics platform.
That's awesome. Thanks, Rutherford. And if I were to give the TLDR of what I heard was that we make adjustments to our schedule on the fly. Operators receive those adjustments and they get guided on what they need to work on next because of this is of a higher priority. And then because it's all within a single system, right? Operators, don't need to go, walk over to a terminal or a second system to engage. We can provide all those insights and analytics and updates from our Shop Pulse system as a single source of truth to guide operators on what they need to do and when they need to do it by. And that's all powered by real-time data from the machines. And in order to do that, we provide those core analytics that are extremely useful to our customers, right? So the only way to understand when this is going to be done by is by tracking metrics, right? Downtime tracking, right? So when we pull data from machines, we know exactly when machines are running or not, right? And in the past, our product required operators to add, downtime reason codes, and you will still need to do that regardless of how automated the system is, because the truth is you can't know at every single moment what is happening. But we do use reason codes and tie them to machine activities, states, schedules, alarm codes, and we provide a really cool technology called ADT, which is automated downtime, where we can classify those downtime reason codes for you without operator input, and then provide you automated downtime analytics and bottleneck analyses without having to provide significant manual inputs. The same technology can apply to OEE and production analytics. Because we're connected to the machines themselves, we can provide automated part analytics and operational analytics on your machines and part operations. The way that we do this is by either identifying what is running through the work order or through the program itself. We have a unique technology we call APM, or automated production monitoring, where our software is reading the program on the machine, and we can actually identify exactly what part operation is running on what machine at any given moment without you having to tell us that information. And with that technology, we can provide you instant analytics on how well your operations are performing without an operator having to tell us anything. If you have standards that we can pull in from the ERP integration, we'll compare to those standards. If you don't have those standards, we'll baseline them for you and then compare against those new standards. Regardless of that, we've made OEE and production analytics incredibly easy to do. But those analytics are critical power intelligence for the back end of our scheduling and work order tracking and management system. Because without that real-time information, we're still over-reliant on manual data entry and manual processes to tell us what is happening. And so that is the gap, right, that we're looking to bridge, right, is what is actually happening on the factory floor and how that impacts our business operations. Now, we're getting down to it here, and I promised the team that I would keep it relatively short. And so I wanted to just provide a little bit about how we're taking that information and taking it a step further when it comes to automating the execution of work. And so with this, I'm going to actually hand it back to my associate Rutherford, who's going to talk a little bit about how MachineMetrics is defining production intelligence utilizing AI to automate processes for our customers.
Yeah, thank you, Graham. I appreciate it. This stuff is really exciting. The whole world has been, sort of maybe infatuated, maybe maybe that's the right word, with sort of using ChatGPT and some of the other AI tools. What we're doing is, because we have access to so much information about what is actually happening on the shop floor, all the real-time machine data, the information from your ERP, and we've also layered it, our AI system with some foundational information. Using a chat experience with MachineMetrics and all of this context associated with what's going on provides an amazing set of results that helps you, identify your critical problems. It can even suggest what are the, based on some lean management principles, what's the best way to resolve this. And the first launch that we have available is the chat interface, where you can basically chat with your data and ask questions about what's going on. And it's comprehensive in such a fantastic way. It helps you uncover patterns because of all the baseline trend information that we've collected that you may not have seen before. And so it's a really powerful addition, but we're even going beyond just the simple chat interface. We're getting to the point where what we plan to do with it is, have a knowledge base support that has this foundation knowledge that I've referred to, but also give you the functionality where we can incrementally add tribal knowledge that you've learned throughout your process. Often tribal knowledge is kept in your operators' heads or your supervisors' heads, and it's very difficult to get that information out. Who's experienced a time where you may have a third shift and they are having a problem making a part and they need an expert, but that expert is asleep? Well, the system that we're building is going to be a system where you can collect this tribal knowledge that will help answer those questions in the off hours and keep production flowing. It's going to be facts, it's going to be information, it's going to be patterns that we've seen before that you've resolved on certain problems, from work order management tickets to just this is how this machine is funky and how it can run better. That tribal knowledge is a system where it's going to continue to grow and learn from how you use it. And so very excited, because that turns the chat system into something that is personalized, not just to the manufacturing space, but to your specific organization and to your particular shifts. And so being able to then generate these automations, so automated shift handoffs. So either how did the shift run? That's an automated process where you can, within 90 seconds, we're going to tell you this is how the shift went. We need some information about one or two things. There's a downtime or there's a tool change. You can type in that information. And then a shift handover. So when they start the shift, automatically giving you that information. So really powerful to help you generate and collect this information that you may not, those may be processes that you're not even doing today. And the most exciting piece of this is automatically rescheduling your work so you can stay focused on time delivery. Sometimes, as we stated earlier, you plan out your schedule and it's right until it hits the shop floor. And then, a cell goes down or an operator calls out. With all this real-time information, we can identify, when your schedule or the sequence of how you want to get things done is not on the optimal path. And Max AI will be able to identify when that happens and then ask, have a human in the loop and ask you, do you want me to reschedule it? And so those are some of the examples of the automations that Max AI is going to do for coming up. But it's incredibly powerful just in the chat interface, and we're going to make it even more powerful.
That's awesome, Rutherford. Thanks for that context. So we've hit it says end of deck. That's pretty funny. So we've hit the end of the deck, which means that we're here to sort of wrap up the presentation. Rutherford, maybe if you were to summarize some of your key takeaways from our presentation today. I mean, I'll give you a few lines, and then I'll summarize some of my thoughts from my side. But maybe I'll let you go first, and then we have got a few minutes to answer some questions.
Well, I think the key thing here is MachineMetrics, gives you, definitely with our core 4, a very targeted, focused approach for how to tackle an MES problem domain, while giving you the flexibility to configure it to your many custom needs. The production schedule is, everything we do is all based on real-time information. Like we said, we're born from the shop floor, we live in the moment. And that's one of the few things that makes us unique when you look at how we partner with ERPs and different integrators, because that's a value proposition that is difficult to come by. And that value proposition, when you layer in some of the AI initiatives that we're doing, become even more powerful. So the marriage of the ERP data and the real-time information and understanding with an AI system that puts that in context really becomes a really compelling set of functionality that gives you power to improve, the performance of your shop, get your utilization numbers up, and get your OEE up. That was, hard to come by before.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me. And so, my big takeaway that I see is that, we all know this, right? That manufacturers, we've always been sort of defined by our ability to plan, but tremendously challenged by our ability to execute those plans, right? These ERP systems that we use, which are tremendously powerful, they outline the ideal path of production, like what to make, when to make it, how much it theoretically should cost. But when those plans hit the shop floor, a new reality intervenes, right? And we see things go haywire, right? Machines fail, processes over exceed our expectations, right? Things happen, right? And it overrides the logic that we supposed would have. And this gap, we call it the execution gap, is the biggest problem that we see in manufacturing. And closing it is one of the most valuable opportunities to our customer that we see today. And the way to solve that gap is using production intelligence. An execution layer, right, that is continuously aligning what's happening on the factory floor and the planning of the ERP. So that's what we're building. That's what we deliver here in MachineMetrics. We already have hundreds of customers that use this software to connect and contextualize production data to deliver that real-time visibility into, your machines, uptime, throughput, on-time delivery. Many of our customers today use this with dashboards, reports, but with ERP connection, utilizing AI tools, right? These insights become far more powerful and allow us to provide significantly more value to individuals within the manufacturing life cycle. So you can take that from just visualizing and analyzing data to actually directing execution using this real-time connection between what we planned and what is actually happening. And if that's something that you're interested in, we'd be interested in talking to you, of course. We're grateful for the team at WM Synergy to host us and for their partnership. There's a reason why we're both here, because we're leaders in the space and what we do. And we'd love to see if we can help you guys do that for your business. And so with that, the phone lines are open. We're here to take questions. We do have a few questions in there, but I do encourage anyone who's here now to drop questions into the questions area. I'm going to answer some of the ones that have already come in, just so we can get started on those. We've got just a couple minutes to do that. So, Rutherford, the question that came in was around Infor Visual. What versions do we integrate with?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we support Infor Visual from, I think it's 7.12 or 7.12 and higher. The way we've built our integration is it's kind of point and click. So we have a nice documentation that gives you the information of the access privileges that you need to provide to MachineMetrics. And then we have an interface where you can enter in your credentials. They're all stored securely, by the way. And within just a few minutes, you should start seeing your data come down. Cool.
All right. Checkbox on that one. I got another question about what types of machines MachineMetrics can connect to. And is it just machines? Good question. Typically, like I said earlier, you do see MachineMetrics. Our vertical focus is in discrete manufacturing. So you'll see us usually connecting to things like turning, milling, stamping, fabrication, injection molding, cold heading, lasers, grinders, welders, robots, cobots, manual welders, belt sanders, chillers, pretty much anything that's an automated machine, that's our wheelhouse. But we can also track manual processes as well with our single interface. And so if you're interested in learning more about how we can do that, you can reach out to us and we can go deep on showing you how that works as well. The other part of that question was around older machines. We do support connections to older machines. Everybody's got them. And legacy machines, like the more respectful way that I like to call them. The way that those work is we have digital I/O hardware and sensors that allow us to affix them to the machines and capture signals like machines running, not running, part counts, cycle time. That's the information typically that you need to track the status of a machine and a potentially a work order. So that was a question there. Is MachineMetrics? We are cloud-based software. That was something that somebody had asked before. So, but we do support GovCloud. We have many customers that have requirements for CMMC and so on and so forth, and that's critical for us. We work with some of the most secure companies in the world that leverage our software, and so with that, we do support your ability to deploy MachineMetrics on the GovCloud, which is AWS. We've got another question here. Okay, I'm just gonna follow. Rutherford, how does MachineMetrics help track setup time versus runtime for low and high volume jobs? Question.
No, it's a good question. So there's a couple different approaches. So for setup times, one of the important elements that we'd like to track is, if your operation and in your Infor visual or your Infor visual system has that expected setup time, that's information that we capture. But we track, whenever we start a job, we track the time and we compare it against the setup time. And so we can give you a visual, in the shop pulse interface, we give you a visual representation of how much time you've been spent. You can pause the setup, you can do all that work, and so we capture that information and we run analytics on the back end, baselining how much time you spent on the setup for that particular part, so you can compare it against other work orders, and also you can compare it against your expected cycle time. That's a typical way, but we do have some functionality when you have high production runs to automatically track when you're in setup and intelligently figure out when you're out of setup. And so we actually look at a couple different processes about what the machine is actually doing, because when an operator is getting in setup, you're not making all the parts consistently. And so when we see a consistency of parts made, we pull you out of setup automatically and move you into production. And so that usually reflects a way for doing that with high volume and high, fast-paced performance.
That's great. Yeah, we call that auto setup detection. For those of you interested, and we can provide more demo information about that. One of the other ways is because we own the operator experience, operators can actually track when they're into starting a setup, right? And we can track setup stages and so on and so forth using that interface. If you want it to be automated, that's where auto setup comes into play. We use the machine signals, TLDR, on that. All right, we've got some more questions coming in. So Rutherford, how does MachineMetrics monitor and optimize labor capacity? It's a good question.
That is an interesting question. So labor capacity, there's a couple different ways. So first of all, we have a ton of information in, and one of the things that we are paying attention to in the production schedule is we're giving you insights about how much capacity is scheduled on each machine based on your shift schedule. And so we understand all that information, and we're giving you a readout of where you have machines that have extra capacity, and we give you that information. What we do with that data when it comes to labor capacity is we kind of profile the information, and that's one of the reports and insights that you can get out of how well you're using both your machine resources and your labor resources. And this is actually where Max AI becomes really important, because sometimes building a report is sort of complicated to get all the different pieces of information that you want to actually answer your question. And so with Max AI, you can just ask the question about, how is my labor capacity being utilized over the last month or the last quarter? And the nice thing about that is it's ad hoc, and you can exactly identify the kind of information you want, and it's going to give you the entire breakdown, pulling all the raw information together to answer your specific question. And so those are just a couple different ways. You can create reports on that information, but it's all this data that we're tracking. And I really think Max AI is going to be the right interface to gather that information, because there's so many different angles you want to look at that information. You can pinpoint exactly the way you want to look at it. All the raw data comes in, and it'll process it in exactly the way that you want it to.
Rutherford, you're gonna love this one, because I know we nerd out hard. So no, not saying whoever asked us is a nerd. We love to go deep on this stuff. So does MachineMetrics automatically translate schedule changes to monthly revenue predictions, or I will just ask you, can it in the future?
Ask the question one more time. I want to make sure I hear it clearly, because it's a good question.
Can you essentially like when a schedule changes, can we show how that would impact a monthly like revenue projection for prediction for a company? So it's like, all right, we're not hitting these targets.
Yes, it can. And there's a couple pieces of information that, when you think about your Infor visual integration with MachineMetrics, that you can provide us. So number one is we already capture your setup and your production burden rates, and we run that calculation based on that. So when we change the schedule, we can predict exactly how much production you're going to get done over a period of time using the production information. And we actually have some existing widgets on our dashboards that show you the dollar amount of what is the cost of doing your business in this view. With Max AI, that's where the predictive tool is going to come in. We can predict based on those burden rates. The information that will actually can be refined, and this is how we can discuss how we can customize your Infor visual information, is to grab that other data associated with what is the value of a part, what is the revenue of a part, what is the revenue of a job. That's not information that we normally grab, but with that information, then you have the capability of doing such amazing things about predicting your financial performance based on real-time performance, real-time execution on your shop floor. And then that's game-changing in so many different ways.
It's awesome, Rutherford. Thank you for the context. Somebody asked if you could provide a rough estimate. It is sort of like we do sort of have a policy, like we don't really do like quotes on the fly on like a webinar. So, but for whoever asks that, I can give you that literally within 10 minutes. If you even just want to email me directly, Graham, that's like the cracker, GRAHAM at MachineMetrics.com. For whoever asks me that, just shoot me an email. I'll get you a rough quote. No problem. We do have some pricing on the website. You can get a general idea, but we can give you like a pretty accurate quote for a 50 machine implementation by just giving us a quick email. But it's not going to break the bank. Let me put it like that. It's certainly going to cost less than buying another machine that we don't need. So we've done it. We've hit the end for today. We are grateful for your time, effort, and questions. Michelle, do I turn it over to you here to wrap things up?
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the great presentation, Graham and Rutherford, and thanks to our customers for attending today. As a reminder, I will be sending the webinar recording over within 24 hours. Should you have any questions, you can direct them to our customer care team. I will put that in the follow-up email as well, but it is customercare@wm-synergy.com. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining. Take care.